To open up, we've got someone, and there was a few worried eyebrows raised in my office when we first approached this speaker, but we've got someone who works for a company, and you can giggle like children like we did, called Fuck Up Nights, which is very exciting. So without further ado, let us welcome to the stage our opening speaker and the first person to come up here and educate you in 2018. It is Letitia Gasca, co-founder of Fuck Up Nights. Yes! Woo!
Thank you. Hi, everybody. How are you? Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you for being brave enough to start the event talking about failure. And to get started, I would love to ask you some questions. Please raise your hand if you have heard before about Fuck Up Nights or the Failure Institute. Okay, there are some hands. Please show me your hand if you have actually attended one of our events. Yeah, a couple of hands. And now please show me your hand if you have had a project or a business that failed. Okay, yeah, we have a lot of things in common, guys. And to get started, I think that I should answer that question. What is Fuck Up Nights? Fuck Up Nights is a global movement of entrepreneurs, of creators, where we do something super basic, simple, and powerful. We get together every month, hundreds of people, and 3 of them jump in a stage to share a story of professional failure, of business failure. And how they do it? They do it using 10 images and 7 minutes. This is something that was born in Mexico City 6 years ago, and today it's taking place in 300 cities in the world. This is the power of failure. And to learn more about our movement, we prepared a short video that we'll reproduce anytime now. Okay, the video, there it is.
This is the story of 5 friends. It was a Friday night in 2012 in Mexico City. After several mezcales, the friends decided they'd heard enough about success, and each decided to share a story about their failed projects. The conversation was so inspiring that they decided to do it again, but this time with even more friends. 2 weeks later, they did it again. The 5 friends all invited their friends, and they asked 3 people to share their biggest failures. That was the first Fuck Up Night. Sharing stories of failure was liberating. It was fun and authentic. So the friends decided to keep it going and organize Fuck Up Nights once a month. Turned out that people all over the world wanted to bring Fuck Up Nights to their city. So the 5 friends decided to take their project seriously and set a goal: to bring Fuck Up Nights to the world. In April 2015, Fuck Up Nights is celebrating reaching 100 cities all over the world, with a presence on every continent, except Antarctica. Today, Fuck Up Nights is the most active creators movement on the planet. Each month, more than 10,000 people worldwide make time to go to Fuck Up Nights and listen to 3 people publicly share their failures. The movement is dedicated to 3 kinds of people: those who have failed, those who will fail, and the liars. Free your failures. The world will thank you.
Okay, now you learned something new about us. I love these 2 images. The one that is, okay, it's hard to say in the left. Okay, the one that is on my right represents most of the events for entrepreneurs, most of the business events, of course, not this festival. And on my right, you will see what Fuck Up Nights is. In Fuck Up Nights, we like to have the uncomfortable conversations. As you already know, everything was born more or less like this. Have you tried mezcal? Well, mezcal is a Mexican dream, more or less like tequila. And in Mexico, what we say is that mezcal doesn't get you drunk. Mezcal gets you magical. And clearly, that night, we were very magical. Basically, that night, in September 2012, I was out with some friends, and we were talking about the life of the entrepreneur. And we realized that we all have screwed up businesses in the past, but we have never shared those stories, despite the fact that we were really close friends. So we decided to start talking about failure. And we spent more or less 3 hours talking about our failures and drinking mezcal. And at the end of that conversation, we realized that that had been one of the most meaningful business conversations ever. And we decided to replicate that experience with more friends. That night, in 15 minutes, we planned the first fuck-up night. We said, okay, guys, we need to replicate this, how to make it happen. Each of us is going to invite 5 friends, and we are going to convince 3 of those friends to share a business failure story. And that night, we also decided the name of the event. We said, okay, we are going to put together our friends to talk about failure. This experiment should have a name. And one of my friends, the one that is on the left with the panda here, he said, fuck up night. And it was like, okay, that's a perfect name. Of course, we never thought that the movement was going to grow this big. And we soon faced the consequences of having the F word in our brand. For instance, we have never been able to buy ads online. Small consequences. And well, the movement started growing. And to be honest, our biggest challenge at the beginning was to find these brave guys, the speakers willing to share publicly a business failure story. And this was a very ironic challenge. The irony was that in the world, there are more stories of failure than stories of success. I don't want to break your heart, guys, at the beginning of the event, but, well, in Mexico, 60% of the couples get divorced before 10 years of marriage. And in the business world, 75% of businesses shut down in their first 2 years. And if 10 new businesses were open today, and we travel to the future 10 years, only 1 of those businesses would still be alive. There are more cases of failure than cases of success. With the time, we learned how to convince people to publicly share their failures, as you may imagine. And we also became really good at replicating these events in other places in the world. Today, we have fuck-up nights in 300 cities in 90 countries. This is 40% of the world. Just to give you an idea, last year we had over 800 events in 27 different languages. This means that the world really needed to have this safe space to talk about failure. Which brings me to the next question. What is the Failure Institute? The Failure Institute is the research arm of the movement. As you can see, we're gathering a lot of data and a lot of case studies in a topic that has not been studied enough. So with the Failure Institute, we created a laboratory of knowledge creation. We are trying to understand and explore what is happening with failure and how can we prevent failure in business. And I am also going to show you a short video on this topic.
What is the Failure Institute? The Failure Institute is a think tank that emerged as the investigative arm of Fuck Up Nights. The Institute was created in order to transform case studies of failure into data and trends so that more informed decisions could be made by businesses, governments, and academia. Every month, Fuck Up Nights gathers 200 stories about failed businesses from around the globe. Imagine the potential. At the Failure Institute, we transform collective knowledge into digestible wisdom and seek the answers to uncomfortable questions. Visit www.thefailureinstitute.com.
Yeah. And to be honest, the Failure Institute was born on the night where we had our speaker number 100. As you already know, at the beginning, convincing people to publicly share their failures was a big challenge. So when we managed to have our speaker number 100, that was a big celebration for us. In fact, that night, a friend of mine asked me a question that I can confess now that that question changed my life. My friend asked me, Letty, you have heard 100 failure stories. Could you tell me the most common causes of failure? And I was shocked because I couldn't give him a good answer. To be honest, we didn't have data. We just have a bunch of stories. we have some assumptions. For instance, that businesses were probably failing because of contracts, not reading the contract or not having a contract at all. We also thought that businesses were probably failing because they were launching too early, like hair. That happens in life. We also thought that businesses were probably failing because they had problems with the business partners. And that is also real. But you know what? That the challenge of answering these questions attracted a lot of attention and also a lot of sponsors. So we managed to turn this project that was born as a research into a larger project, the Fuck Up Book. In fact, this is a product that you can find in our website. And the Fuck Up Book was the opportunity to turn our Fuck Up Manifesto into a book and include failure stories, activities. It's a really fun book. And as we are in this amazing festival, I want to share with you that this image, the Fuck Up Manifesto, has been our most viral post ever. Every time we post our manifesto, social media gets crazy. And I think that's because this is a really authentic piece of knowledge, a piece of thought. The manifesto was created one night where we were also drinking mezcal, and we were thinking about what would have been ideal to listen on that night, on that moment, where we were living the worst part of our business failures. And these 24 ideas came out. We turned them into a manifesto, and later we turned them into a book. But what about the research? What happened with the research is that, as you may imagine, we have no experience creating knowledge with academic basis. So we started talking with all the research centers and universities in Mexico. To our surprise, most of them said, guys, this is really interesting, let's make it happen, and we have to choose between several options. In the end, we decided to work with the researchers of EGADE Business School, the Business School of Tec de Monterrey, because they said, guys, we need to confess you something. Last year, we tried to do a research on business failure, and we failed. And basically, they failed because they couldn't access the case studies or the data to make this type of research possible. And as you may imagine, it was a really good partnership. We made the research happen. And what was really unbelievable for us is that universities and business incubators started taking the research and the book to improve their methodologies. And as a consequence, next year, we were invited to replicate this study in Colombia. Since then, we have not stopped. We have now studied failure in different countries, regions, and industries. For instance, we have studied failure among tech startups, among social enterprises, among low-income female entrepreneurs in Mexico. We have also done public policy. We have done policy papers that have actually managed to help change laws in Mexico. We have also done reports on the state of failure. This is an example of data we are comparing among Europe and the Americas. But the product that I am more proud of, my favorite project, is the Global Failure Index. It is an interactive map that features all of our database. And it puts together the power of the Fuck Up Nights community, our researchers network. Right now, we have over 80 researchers from all over the world studying failure with our database. And our data partners, which are organizations like yours, that help us gather more data. And well, this interactive map can help you identify trends of failure in different industries and in different regions. In fact, if you type globalfailureindex.com, you will be able to play with our interactive map. And if you want to learn more about our research, just visit our website. And this brings me to the next question, which is, what is failure? Probably there are as many definitions of failure as people in the world. But there are some things that failure will always have in common. For instance, that failure is universal. Failure is part of this shared human experience. And it's something that we live from the moment we start trying to do things. Failure is uncomfortable, and that is fine, and that is needed. Sometimes we need failure to get out of our comfort zone, to notice that there is something else that we need to learn, that we need to practice. And also, failure is dynamic. In fact, I think that failure is just a moment. And success is very similar. Success is also a moment. And in the end, what really matters is to keep trying, to keep learning, and to remember that business is an endless quest. So I would love to ask you, do you think that we should celebrate failure? Here we can see all types of answers. Please show me your hand if you think that we should celebrate failure. Okay, there are some hands. And now, if you think that we shouldn't celebrate failure, show me your hand. Okay, less hands. Probably this image might help. On the road to success, there are no shortcuts. Probably these guys tried to take a shortcut. But well, what is interesting is that this question has already been researched. There were these guys in Harvard Business School that spent many years trying to give a right answer to this question, and in the end, they concluded that it depends. They noticed that there are two types of processes. On one hand, we have processes that are in an innovation mode. On the other hand, we have processes that are in operation mode. How should we face failure in each type of process? If the failure happens in a process that is in operational mode, this means that the process already have procedure manuals, for instance. It's a process that has been going on for a long time. If a failure happens in a process that is in operational mode, we shouldn't celebrate failure. We should acknowledge what happened, we should learn from that failure and share the learnings. On the other hand, if the failure happens in a process that is in innovation mode, we should celebrate it, because that is one of the best ways to learn about new things. In fact, I think that one of the big magical powers of failure is that it can lead to innovation. That is the big magic of failure. Failure can lead to innovation. One example is Google X. I know that we have people from Google here. Google X is the almost secret innovation laboratory in Google. And what I love about this area of Google is that these guys go to work every day with the right mindset. They go to work thinking, I hope I will fail today. Because that means that they are more close to the innovation, and that will open a space to work in different projects that can work. Another great example is the Post-it. Probably you have already heard this story. The adhesive of the Post-it was originally created as a super strong adhesive for the aerospace industry. Obviously, it is not super strong. And what happened is that the creator of this glue started using that adhesive to paste pieces of paper in his desks, in different places in his house also. And suddenly they realized that probably that was not the ideal glue for the aerospace industry, but the adhesive was strong enough to support a piece of paper. And today, we have Post-its in all of our desks. And this is a product that was born out of a failure, that was reinvented. And I think that this is the most powerful idea on failure, that failure is a state of mind. Have you read a book called Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck? Well, I really recommend this book. Carol Dweck is a psychologist from Stanford. She spent many, many years trying to figure out why successful people are successful, especially why super successful people are so successful. And she looked for a lot of things. For instance, probably it was the education, probably it was the background, or the family, or the context. And what she found is that what really makes a difference between super successful people and the rest is their mindset, is their way of thinking. And she discovered that most of us can have two types of mindset. On one hand, we have the fixed mindset. People that have a fixed mindset think that they were born with a certain amount of intelligence, and there is nothing they can do to improve. There is nothing they can do to be more intelligent. People that have a fixed mindset think, for instance, that failure is the limit of their abilities. They don't like to receive feedback, and when they feel frustrated, they just give up. On the other hand, people that have a growth mindset know that failure is good, that failure can help you learn new things. They know that positive and constructive feedback can help them grow, and they like to try new things. People that have a growth mindset know that if they spend enough time and energy, they can learn almost anything. And what is most important about people that have a growth mindset is that they have the most relevant skill we can acquire in the business world, which is resiliency. Resiliency is actually a term that we stole from science. Resiliency is the capacity of a spring to come back to its original position after being extended. In the case of human beings, resiliency is our ability to bounce back from failure, to come back to our center when something wrong happens. And the good news is that resiliency is a muscle that we can build, that if we practice resiliency, if we learn to understand ourselves better, we can become more resilient. And if you want to learn more about this, you can read my latest book, Sobrevivir al Fracaso. It is only in Spanish right now, but this is a good opportunity to practice your Spanish and your growth mindset at the same time. And I would love to give you one final idea. I think that business is very similar to sports. Because if we want to go fast, we can go on our own. If you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go together. And I want to congratulate you for being together. For me, I see you here, and you being here represents that you are together, that you are really willing to learn from each other and willing to recognize that success is almost never final, and failure is almost never fatal. Thank you.
Thank you. What a strong opening. Thank you very much. Wow, Leticia, everybody. So, how many of you listened to that? Just before I ask if there's any questions for Leticia, everyone standing in the corridor, don't you worry. There are seats here on this side, and they're not at the front, so don't feel embarrassed. No one's going to bite you. I'm looking at them now. They look like a very nice bunch of people. In fact, I know a couple of them. They'll be very nice to you. But if you want to sit down, there are a few seats there. So, Leticia, let's see if we get some questions from the audience. Who enjoyed that first session? Who has a question for Leticia? Or is everyone so perfect they've never failed?
Everything was very clear.
I don't think that's true, is it? Who has a question? No one has a question to start the first day. Okay, I do. I'll start. What sector have you found so far is most willing to embrace failure and lead to success? And what sector have you found the most difficult?
I think that tech is more open to talk about failure. Probably something that was learned from Silicon Valley. In general terms, all of the sectors that are directly related with the Silicon Valley industry are more open to failure. In fact, the term fail fast was coined there. But I think that we should not only fail fast, we should fail also mindfully.
Right. And where do we stand as a media and marketing industry in that scale? Are we good at recognizing our failures and trying to achieve success, or are we in the wrong mindset, not the growth mindset? Where are we?
No, you're doing really good, guys. In fact, I think that you are one of the industries that has acquired this ability to identify when something is not working really fast. And that is something that probably some other industries should learn from you.
Okay. Does anyone have a question, or are you all eager and have learned enough and taken enough notes? We have one here right in the front. We have a mic coming just now. Here we go. Thank you, sir. I'll think of a prize you win for asking the first question of the day. Come and see me later.
Hi, thanks so much for sharing. I'm asking myself, were you able to identify if there is any country, any market that learns better from their failures than others?
Not at this point. In fact, your question is really good because we are doing a research on that right now. And I think that I will be able to answer that question in a couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you for being the first question. Any more questions out there? Ah, over here. Beautiful. We've got a mic right next to you.
Thank you. Maybe this is part of your research, but I would like to know, in your opinion, which one is the biggest failure in Latin America?
Wow. In terms of business, in general,
Let's hope they're not in this room now, right?
the biggest failure in Latin America, that's a hard question. I'm not sure what to answer on that. Talking about being vulnerable, this is my turn to be vulnerable. I have never thought about like the biggest failure in Latin America. Probably not sharing enough knowledge among each other. That is a big area of opportunity.
Okay, any more questions out there? Oh, yes, one more on this side, please. This is our final question. The microphone is just coming to you.
I am surprised that no one has asked yet how we make money.
Yes, well, hopefully this question will be that.
Hi, great presentation.
Thank you.
So I didn't see Miami listed on the list of cities with events. Do you have any plans to have any events?
Yeah, in fact, I think that we have Fuck Up Nights in Miami this week. Probably this Thursday.
Awesome.
I'll see you there.
We need to work on your marketing, right? That's a fuck up in
Yeah,
itself. We
please,
need to
give
work
me a
on that for
hand,
Miami.
guys.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Leticia.
Thank
Let's give a
you,
big round of
guys.
applause, Leticia Gasca. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.